vibration. There's a certain type of chemistry that can happen. There's a certain type of bonding, certain forces and constructs that occur within any vibrational state. Any harmonic state that is synchronized in some way. There's always some scientific laws that govern it, based on the dynamics of how the vibrational states interact. So with molecular states, we call this chemistry. With larger organic states, we call it biology. But the same, it's all the same thing. There are vibrational states of interaction. Now, mental states, we haven't really done this, but in ancient times, there were, Hermes. They called it mental alchemy, and it's the process of mentally transforming yourself, your awareness, and your mental state. And I think that's very cool. There's a lot of people that kind of do this today, and I think there's an actual science to it. In the same way that there's a science to chemistry. Now, we take this one step higher to the more subtle vibrations, the vibrations of the spiritual world. There's spiritual chemistry that can occur as well. This is a very highly complex space-time when you go to the level of spiritual. Matter, you kind of see time only in the now. The mental state sees time as a line, moving from one mental state to the next, and you can traverse along that line forwards and backwards, but only within the mental state, and the material state is only traversing forward in time. And then you get to the spiritual state, and your spiritual state sees all time. So now, instead of just traversing time linearly, it's a cubic space-time in both space and time. It's sort of the integration of all your previous material and mental states integrate into your spiritual state. And in your spiritual state, you have all those memories attached. People talk about 6-year-olds having these incredible piano skills, and 6-year-old, it's very hard for a 6-year-old to learn. And they're naturally gifted. Now, some people think that those gifts are part of their spiritual lineage. Can you imagine if a Beethoven reincarnated into a 6-year-old? That body and mind are still connected to that spirit. If there's a spiritual realm and he moves into it and then comes back down into the material plane from that same spirit, it's gotta have, at that spiritual level, at that deep trance-like state where you're in an elevated vibrational state, you've got to be interacting with that energy, and that your spirit condenses, in most energy systems, condenses into your mental state. Your mental state is a derivative of your entire spiritual being. Everything that your spiritual being has gone through. Now, energy is eternal, so your spiritual being is infinite, and to get it into your mental state, you just have to reach up and tap into it and pull a little bit down at a time. Obviously, we're in your body-mind, you're a finite being. You're in a one-dimensional time unit. Your time unit is a single point moving through this weave of craziness. If you imagine a one-dimensional point trying to move in a cubic space, it's going to feel a little bizarre to it. But to your spirit, it's very normal. And so tapping into it can drive people crazy. On this level, they go back up there, it makes a lot more sense, probably. But it can really drive people crazy when it comes in too fast. So you'll notice when people are tripping on LSD and stuff, sometimes, if their spirit is not oriented correctly, it can be a very chaotic experience. But if you orient yourself properly beforehand, physically, mentally, spiritually, environmentally, which is part of your spirit, your environment, your social complex is built into who you are. Earth is this way because of the structure that it's being built upon. Society changes, and where you are in society affects who you are as a person, which affects who you are as a spirit in the end, and it all ties together. I was going somewhere with that. Oh, So your setting is actually important because how you create your environment um, influences your spirit, which then comes back and influences your mind and influences your body state. Um, I don't know. That's the thought I'm gonna run off on there.